I guess the best way for me to put this here is this article from 9 to 5 Mac actually just has a whole roundup of reviews that are coming in for the iPhone SE. If you've been living under a if you've been living under a rock or in a hole, or maybe you are because it's quarantine time. But the iPhone SE is the biggest news around, or it has been for quite some time now. And the big thing about it is its price tag at $400. And the other notable thing here is everyone's talking about it because they put the A13 Bionic chip in it. If you're not familiar with what the A13 Bionic chip, it's their flagship chip, their best chip set from Apple that you can find in the latest iPhone 11, 11 Pro, 11 Pro Max. Reviews have dropped today for Apple's highly anticipated new entry-level iPhone, and it's getting overwhelmingly positive responses. Some of the feedback concludes it's, quote, everything you need, quote, a super value for the price, quote, the best budget smartphone out there, and that it could be, quote, the most important thing Apple's made this year. When Apple launched the 2020 iPhone SE with the same processor as the iPhone 11 lineup, an updated camera with portrait mode features and 4K video recording, and a starting price of just $399, it was clear this would be fantastic for a lot of people, particularly those holding on to older iPhone models. Very true. Now, the first reviews are out today, and there is unanimous praise for the new entry-level iPhone. Here's what reviewers are saying, and take a look down below for all the videos as well. We're not going to look at the videos. We'll kind of just go through these little quotes here and quotes, these little snippets, and just, kind of get a feel for how these, reviewers or whatever are feeling about the iPhone SE. The Verge calls it, quote, everything you need, and gives top marks for the battery life, camera, long software support from Apple, and concludes it will make customers consider what real value a $1,000 smartphone actually delivers. And that's not a bad way to put it. I think a lot of people, and this isn't just Apple. I mean, obviously, Apple is now pushing the forefront on it because it's Apple and they get a lot of press, and rightfully so. I mean, they make a good product, but I think really the starter here was not Apple, it was Google releasing their Pixel 3a, putting a top tier, camera phone or camera on their phone at a $400 price point. Apple is just now, you know, putting their hat in. And it's a good thing because now this is going to force other companies to get on the ball about producing a $400 phone that, can compete with, the audience, compete with, not the audience, the consumer, and have them open their wallets and say, yeah, this is worth it for me. The iPhone SE shines a bright, clarifying light on the entire smartphone industry, putting even Apple's own top-end phones in sharp relief. What are you paying for when you spend $800 or $1,000 or even more for a phone? The list turns out to be more about niceties than necessities. TechCrunch highlights how much you're getting with the new iPhone SE for the money and calls it, quote, cheap and cheerful. Simply, it's a super value for the price, just smashing really, and a damn good phone. Alas, I am too used to no home button for it to be really appealing to me, but this is going to be a great phone for millions of people. And talk about timing on the value side of things, $399 for an iPhone with Apple's latest power plant on board is huge. Yeah, that's obviously it's good timing for everything that's going on right now with the way the pandemic and this whole COVID-19 thing. People are they're tightening up their wallets. People are facing economic issues, and that's for a lot of people. And I mean, $400 for a phone is probably still expensive for a lot of people right now in what's going on. Another interesting point is the win-win situation of Apple doing well on its end with customers getting a great deal too when it comes to this new iPhone. This iteration of the iPhone is one of those rare moments where the business gets served, the users get served, and everyone comes out of it with a good deal. I actually like that. I like that philosophy because I think that should have been the philosophy from companies for a long time. But here we go, squeezing as much as we can out of the consumer. And I'm not saying the iPhone SE is the best phone out there. I'm not saying that, but I think it's meeting a price point where you're getting your money's worth. Let's put it that way. Most likely, you're getting your money's worth. I'll know for sure when I get this phone on Friday and I'm able to test it out. And yeah, we'll see. Engadget says the iPhone SE is, quote, the best budget smartphone out there, and that it, quote, isn't just a good deal, it's a big deal. It's not just because the iPhone SE is cheap, though it certainly is. The base model costs only $399. No, what makes the SE so valuable is that it doesn't act like a $399 phone. The iPhone SE isn't just a good deal, it's a big deal for people clinging to ancient phones because new ones are too large, too expensive, or too gimmicky. The iPhone SE is the right phone at the right time at the right price. MKBHD says that with the iPhone SE's A13 processor and Apple's long software support, it has delivered one of the best value phones of the year and in a long time. Yeah, I mean, I guess so, but there's also, for a new phone that just comes out, sure. But I think there's also a case to be made of what a lot of tech reviewers, what a lot of tech pundits say is to kind of wait and hold off and wait for the other good deals to come out. I mean, yes, this is a very cheap phone coming out right now at this moment, but there are still deals that can be had. There's still good deals that you can find that are still brand new if you wait it out. Um, so yeah, I get it. I understand, but you can still find good deals out there. Apple's not the first company to do it. Justine says it's, quote, an incredible phone at such an incredible price, and that, quote, it's got all of the photo and video capabilities and it's fast enough to play all of the games that you would need to play. I don't know. That's a little weird because it's, yeah, maybe fast enough to play all of the games that you need to play. But who's playing games on a small ass screen like that? I mean, maybe some people are, but I just I don't see it. I don't see it as much of a gaming phone as maybe. I mean, you're still gonna the display is probably one of its weaker points, right? It's a small screen. I guess if you want a small phone, but it's not the best media consumption phone. What do you look for in a new iPhone? The top of the list likely includes battery life and camera quality. Yes, and yes. There are a bunch of other specs and features you'd probably put down lower on the list: speed, screen quality, size, extra cameras, and so on. Also true, although I think speed goes up there for me. But speed can get included in this list because I think the iPhone SE gives you that with its A13 Bionic chip. Speaking of longevity, battery life on the iPhone SE is all right, but not stellar. I'm getting through a full day, averaging between 4 and 5 hours of screen on time. I was hoping the A13 Bionic processor would unlock the longer battery life we got with the iPhone 11, but it seems that was mostly about battery size, and the SE has the same battery size as the iPhone 8. It's enough for today, but in a few years, you may be turning to a battery case on the regular or seeking out a repair shop to replace your battery. This is actually something that Brian's pointed out in not only chat here, but also in like a little group chat that we have, that yeah, the iPhone SE might be good right now as term is in terms of battery life, but give it a year and a half of heavy use, and that battery is going to start to take its toll, especially when it's not going to be, um, as strong as it is in capacity as it is when you first got it. So that's something to keep in mind too. The iPhone SE has just one 12 megapixel camera on the back and a 7 megapixel selfie camera on the front. There are two ways of looking at these cameras, both valid. The first is for a $399 phone, the cameras are absolutely great, and any complaints or gripes should be promptly dismissed given that price. The second is that they're quite good, but have some baffling shortcomings that Apple could have overcome, even at this price point. So yeah, these look like really great shots. I mean, at least from the naked eye, just looking at it offhand, these are very clear, like color looks really nice, well taken shots. In any sort of bright lighting conditions, the iPhone SE takes absolutely lovely photos, which is true. Not only true for the iPhone SE, but for a lot of phones. They're clean in the details, color accurate, and just the right amount of sharp. Dynamic range is also quite good. In fact, in daylight conditions, it can be hard to tell the difference between this $400 phone and a $1,000 iPhone 11 Pro. So iPhone Pro is on the left, iPhone 11 Pro is on the left, iPhone SE is on the right. Yeah, there's not much difference here. A little cooler on the iPhone 11 Pro, but otherwise they look almost identical. I mean, I would have to zoom 100% in to really see, but for a shot like this, yeah, they both look great. Apple says that the iPhone SE is able to do more than it otherwise would because of that A13 Bionic processor. It allows for portrait mode, or more specifically, more kinds of portrait modes on both cameras. For example, Apple has given this capability a very Apple-esque technical name, monocular depth estimation. Okay. But unlike the single lens portrait mode on Pixel phones, the iPhone SE isn't taking advantage of sub-pixel calculations. It's using machine learning models to estimate depth of field. So the iPhone SE rear camera in portrait mode, and then the iPhone SE front selfie camera. It's nice to see that they both are capable of taking portrait shots. Looking at this rear camera already, you can see here it's not using the depth 100%. You can see that this is not bokeh out, or here bokeh out. That's such a weird thing to say because that's not really how it works. But this hair here too is not as defined. So it's not going to be perfect. I didn't expect it to be perfect. This actually looks better on the front camera than this rear one here, to be honest with you. I think that the iPhone 11 Pro manages portraits slightly better than the SE, but I also think that by and large, portrait modes on phones all break down when you look closely. Well, I don't know if Dieter's taken time to really mess around with the portrait mode on the Pixel 4, because that works excellently. Much better than the iPhone 11 Pro. And I've said this already in the past, but the iPhone 11 Pro camera in portrait mode completely beats out the iPhone 11 Pro. Did I say that right? Now I'm not sure if the Pixel 4 in portrait mode is a lot better in terms of the iPhone 11 Pro in portrait mode. So much so that, like, even those little things that I was picking out here don't show on the Pixel 4. Obviously, this is the iPhone SE, but we'll see when I get this phone. There's no night mode, and in dim light, there's just too much noise. It's almost like the whole camera panics and overcorrects, especially on portraits. I was hoping there were going to be pictures of the iPhone SE versus the iPhone 11 Pro, but I'm not seeing it. Yeah, these are obviously very dimly lit shots. The noise doesn't seem too bad, but man, I would really like to compare it with well, I'll get my chance when the phone comes Friday. Hopefully it comes on Friday, but we'll see. I'm not sure why the A13 Bionic allows the iPhone SE to gain all of those other benefits, but not better night shots. Um, I think Apple might be crippling it on purpose. I mean, that's all theory at this point. I think Apple could actually make night mode a thing for the iPhone SE, but I don't think that they want to completely give everything to the iPhone SE because they don't want it to hamper their iPhone 11 sales. That's my theory. If I were buying the iPhone SE, I'd seriously consider spending the extra $50 to upgrade the storage to 128 gigs. I also recommend that, especially if this is just going to be your phone for the next couple of years, just in case I'd want it 3 or 5 years down the road. That time span is the reason the iPhone SE is a big deal. No other phone that costs less than $500 can claim to be this good nor last that long. The iPhone SE is not just a good deal, it's also a really good smartphone. I think the article is pretty fair. I think it makes its case.